Hello, Juicy Peaches. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Priestess Peaches, aka Jackie Lane from yourpeachylife.com. And in this video, my lovely, I'm going to share with you about my first de-armouring experience. So de-armouring is a practice that I learned through learning about Tantra, sacred sexuality, sexual healing, sex magic, all that kind of stuff. De-armouring is where you massage your yoni, you go around the clock, and you massage into points of tension, into pain, points of numbness, and you start at the vaginal opening and you work your way in and you go round the clock, round the clock, round the clock, and keep going in, keep going in, keep going in. It's a self-care, self-healing massage technique that will help your yoni to release tension, release trauma, release stagnant energy, blocked pleasure pathways and channels, and basically just care for your yoni. And it's something I recommend you do often, especially if you are shut down, experiencing pain, if you're healing from sexual trauma. It's a really, really powerful practice. And I want to share with you my first de-armouring experience because, to be honest, it wasn't pleasant. It really wasn't, because I was full of pain and I was tense. And it's not like tightness because of tension isn't a good thing, okay? Like, you don't want tension, you need tone and suppleness. There has to be both. Tension just causes restriction, constriction, and pain. And I was tense, I was pained, I was like, I had points of stingy feeling. I had points of like a deep aching feeling. I had points that was kind of itchy and like, yeah. So my first de-armouring experience wasn't very enjoyable at all, and it's not necessarily meant to be a pleasure practice. It can be pleasurable, but that's not the goal. There isn't, like, it's not about that. It's a self-care practice, and if there's pleasure there, great, and if there's not, then it's an opportunity to heal that. And so when I first tried this, I found it very challenging. I use my just one finger and I used coconut oil. I wasn't open. I wasn't feeling good sexually. I wasn't horny or turned on. And I wasn't able to bring myself to that space. I wasn't in that space. Okay, so don't worry. You don't have to feel horny to be able to penetrate yourself or to be able to do these practices. Like, that is not essential for you to have to feel turned on. Like, your yoni, when you are in connection with your yoni and you practice things like yoni breathing and other things that I teach and other people teach, you start to have a conversation and connection with your yoni. And when you're doing self-healing practices, you don't necessarily have to feel horny, yet your yoni will still open for you and will still want to be healed. And even if your yoni doesn't open, like, you just take your time and you come back to it and you keep trying until she is ready to open. And that was part of my journey. Like, the first few times I tried de-armouring, I literally couldn't. I wasn't ready. My yoni didn't want it. My yoni wasn't ready for that kind of healing. And I think emotionally, I wasn't ready. Psychologically, I wasn't ready, because for me, doing the de-armouring practice was bringing up a lot of past trauma and memories and emotions and body memories and things like that. Because the intention was healing and integration, that was naturally coming up every time I would connect with my yoni. So the first time I was de-armouring, you start at the vaginal opening, and it was painful for me. it was sore and tender, and it was kind of like, I want to say like a scratchy feeling. Like when I would touch, it would feel like I'm like almost scratching, even though I wasn't. It would feel like I was hurting myself. And so I was very gentle to start with, and then I would start applying pressure, and I could tell my yoni was starting to open to the experience, and I was releasing tension. I was going around the clock as you do. I was using plenty of coconut oil, and eventually my yoni started to open, and there were points like I journaled about the experience after, and I drew it. Basically, I wanted to just journal about it and draw a diagram and kind of point out the bits that were painful and what the pain felt like. And like I said, there were points that were very tender, like pressing a bruise, and there were points that were completely numb. There were points that felt like just like tense, like a tense muscle, like plump, like not juicy. And there were other points where there was a tiny little hint of pleasure. And I basically, you go around the clock, and then you go in a little bit, and then you go around the clock. And so I was doing this, and when I got to this certain point that felt numb, I decided to massage into that point a bit, and you just gently massage and add a bit more pressure, a bit more pressure. And I had this epic emotional release come up. It was like a wave of pure emotion. And I just cried and I cried. And that was me done that time. I was like, no more. It was really intense. So I just laid there, and I was just yoni breathing and meditating and just connecting with my heart, connecting with my yoni. And then I came back to the de-armouring practice again, and just allowed myself to go on that journey again. And I got to the point where I was at the first time, and this time it wasn't numb. There was sensation, and it was quite pleasurable. It was like there was a little bit of pleasure there, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is working. But there were other points, like I had this certain area that felt very sore, like that's the only word to describe it, like sore, and it didn't really want to be touched. Like when I touched it, it hurt. So I just rested my finger there, and I just breathed into it, and I just allowed for stillness. And then I felt that okay to massage. Like I just sensed that I could massage, so I was just gently massaging that space. And I didn't have an emotional release this time. This time I had like a physical release, like a physical like shaking, and like feeling kind of sick and feeling kind of like weird feelings in my body. And I know it was like some experience from the past just being released from me. That's just a way that my body does it. And after that, I carried on with this de-armouring practice, and I, to be honest, didn't feel that much after that. There wasn't really much of anything. There wasn't really pleasure, there wasn't pain, but it wasn't particularly numb. And then I rested. And then the next time I went to do this practice, my yoni felt so much more open and so much more relaxed, so much more like vibrant. There was this like a happy energy coming from my yoni, and I was just like, I haven't felt this for a very, very long time. And I sensed my yoni was very happy with me for taking my time, and for gifting her time, and for listening, and for stopping when I needed, and or when she needed, and for listening and responding in alignment with her needs. And this time when I was de-armouring, it wasn't painful, and there was pleasure, and I felt this feeling of relaxation and this like juiciness, and I'm just trying to think of the words, like suppleness. I know I said that word before. I felt suppleness, like the tension had gone. I didn't feel this tight, tense, constricted feeling. It felt like juicy and flowing and open and receptive, and there was more pleasure there than for a long time. And so for me, de-armouring really, really helped me to start to open my yoni and awaken my pleasure. And it really helped me to start releasing some of the traumatic experiences I had and my emotions around that, and to actually learn to truly love myself and be present with myself and honor myself. And it helped create this really trusting relationship and loving relationship between me and my sexual self and my yoni. So I do very much recommend de-armouring practices, and it's something that I share about in my Reawaken Your Yoni course, which is a 6-week online course that I created for women. So I'll put the link for that down below, and also I'll just link my website and my Facebook. Like if you're wanting to work with me privately around this kind of thing, then you can reach out to me. It's a journey and it's a devotion, and these things take time. So even if you take my 6-week course, just take your time with it. There's no rush. I would recommend devoting to going through the course and then coming back to it if needed, but you take as long as you want. Like, I mean, I recommend going through the course in the order that it is and then coming back to things if you need to. That's what I meant. But you take as long as you want with that course. You have lifetime access to it. De-armouring is something that I practice regularly, even though now I don't feel I need to. I don't feel I need to because I feel like open and pleasureful and blissful. I still practice de-armouring as a self-care practice, just as like you would massage if your shoulders, or it's just self-care, it's self-love. It is showing yourself and showing your yoni. It doesn't always have to be about like orgasm or pleasure or anything like that. It can just be a healing, loving experience with yourself. And like I said, if there's pleasure there, then great. And if not, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you. These kind of practices can really help you to stay vibrant and alive, and to, like I said, to have a very nourishing and loving relationship with yourself. And that is going to open you sexually with your partner. If you fill up your cup first, if you learn about yourself, if you learn how to heal yourself, you know that you're self-sufficient. If anything comes up in your life, you know that you're self-sufficient with your own healing power. You don't have to rely on your man to be your source of pleasure. You will know yourself. You will be able to then share that with him, and he will then be able to know you because you do. And so that's where it starts. It starts with you. So, okay, I'm going to shut up now. I hope this was useful. Thank you so much for listening to this if you have got this far. And like I said, I will leave any links to me and my offerings in the description box. And if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and give it a thumbs up if you want me to do more videos like this. And if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Please be respectful and kind in the comments. Any immature or nasty comments will be removed. And I will see you in my next video. I love you lots. Have an amazing day, and remember to keep it juicy. Mwah. Bye.